Hey guys, Mega Man and G here, and it's that time of the week again. Yep, we're now ready with another Flash episode review. This week we're going to be talking about yesterday's episode, Back to Normal. So here's the deal. I'm going to provide a synopsis of what it's about, as well as what I liked and disliked about it. Although I didn't provide one when I did my notes, so I'm going to have to make this one up on the fly. So yeah, it's going to be pretty. Also, bear in mind that all of my reviews, whether it be Gotham, TMNT, The Flash, or even the Ace Attorney anime, they all fall under fair use, because it's not like I'm uploading anything that violates copyright, right? I'm not even uploading anything that has copyright whatsoever. So anyway, let's get started. Taking after the events of last week's episode, Barry is speedless. Basically, without the Speed Force, Barry has to adjust to life as a normal human being, for better or worse. Unfortunately, things get a bit dicey when a new metahuman shows up and kidnaps Earth 2 Wells. Why? So he can get a cure. Because this guy has some super strength, but with a drawback. He's aging. So with time running out, can Barry and his team be able to save Earth 2 Wells before it's too late? And there's also a subplot relating to Caitlin, who has gotten kidnapped by Zoom in last week's episode. She ends up meeting Killer Frost, and it doesn't end well. Okay, this isn't much of a summary, but yeah, this episode, it's not that bad, but it isn't that great either. There are some flaws that I find with the episode, and I do mean plenty of them. First and foremost, we have the villain of the week. His real name is Griffith Gray. Trying to say that is more than enough. But bear in mind, Griffith Gray was actually more of a sympathetic villain. He's portrayed by Haig Sutherland of the show Slither. And I have to admit, his performance was very good. It makes you feel bad for him because, yeah, he's got super strength, but it came with a drawback of having, your body getting older and older. And the more you use your strength, the more older you get. And on one hand, it makes you feel bad for him because this is actually somebody who's not he didn't get a name from Cisco. He's just a normal guy that had his life destroyed by a particle accelerator explosion. It makes you feel bad for him. And for what it was worth, for what time he had, I have to wholeheartedly agree. The guy was a villain nonetheless, but he had his reasons for being a villain. He wanted to have a normal life, but when he got his powers, everything was taken from him. So what more can you do? Also, it was nice to see Killer Frost again, aka Earth 2 Caitlin. I swear, when anything involving Earth 2, like their alternate selves like Killer Frost, Deathstorm, and Reverb, you can obviously tell that the actors and actresses really had a lot of fun with their roles. It was nice for what it lasted, but sadly she gets killed off by Zoom. I've said it already before, Teddy Sears delivers an amazing job as Zoom. Because on one side, you can see him as being a nice guy. But when you start to get him angry, that's when you see his true colors. And believe me, angry Zoom is not a Zoom you want to mess with. So the main focus of the episode is Barry without his powers. Now it's an interesting dynamic seeing Barry now powerless. But I think this episode clearly states that no matter whether you have powers or not, as long as you have the brains up there, you can do anything. And that's what Barry did. Instead of having to rely on his Speed Force, he had to rely on his smarts as well as his friends to do it, to beat the bad guys. And that was done very well here. I feel that everybody, including Jesse, who made a return here, did their part amazingly well. The action, for what it has, not much action, was pretty good. And the humor, especially courtesy of Cisco, was always a delight. Although there was the Wells subplot, it was minimum at best, but all it does is just have Wally West thank the Flash for saving his life. And for me personally, that to me was a highlight. I really did like it. I liked it a lot, and it was just that satisfying to boot, seeing that there is some closure for Wally, but I got this weird feeling that Wally may end up getting involved with the Flash in the future. Okay, I did enjoy the episode for its action, its humor, not to mention character development, but I have to list some flaws, and some of these flaws, yeah, you could agree or disagree with me on it, but yeah, I found some things that just felt rather off. Like, say, for example, the Wells family between Earth 2 Wells and Jesse. I think, personally, one of the big flaws of this episode is that it was rushed. They just rushed it in really fast with what time they have. They could have, added more time, more episodes to develop it, so that way there can be a proper reconciliation. But no, they just had to rush it in just as when the bad guy gets defeated. I didn't like it personally, and back then, Jesse was just so distant against her father that she didn't want to be near him. She didn't want to do anything, especially when she found out the truth. But now, after all these episodes, they reconcile just like that? Not a good thing. I just wish that was pretty much lazy writing at its best. And another thing, it could have been more ambitious, especially towards Cisco. If it did, then this episode would have been a lot better. It would have been a lot more enjoyable too. And I mean it would have been good, since Cisco's always one of the few people that provided humor. Though not in this case with this episode. All he provided was his brains. Although getting rid of Jay's helmet's not going to be pretty. But overall, I really did enjoy this episode. It was it reminded us of what The Flash was like back in the last season, when it was always pretty straightforward. It had an idea, for the episode, it had a good idea, and it added a twist to it. Not to mention, the villain was well-rounded, sympathetic. Yeah, you can actually feel bad for him because of what happened to him. Not to mention Caitlin versus Caitlin. That to me was a highlight indeed. I would have asked for a cat fight, but no, Zoom had to kill her. And then went and said, "You let him out, he'll die too." And then at the end of the episode, we thought that Barry wouldn't have his powers for a long time. But you know how it can't be without the Flash, right? So basically, next week's episode, they're going to recreate the accident that gave Barry his powers, the particle accelerator explosion. Imagine how that would work. And the funny thing is, recreating the accident, that is a nod to Flashpoint. And I don't want to get into Flashpoint right now because that would take me all day, along with all the problems that it has. So how do I rate this episode? This episode isn't bad, but isn't that great either. I give it personally a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good episode, don't get me wrong. There were some good moments, but there were a lot of issues that kind of hampered it from making it a lot higher. At least it isn't unlike the episodes where I had to literally pick off all the problems that I had, especially with the relationship with Barry and Patty going nowhere. I could talk about that all day, but if you saw my review of that, then you know why. So overall, a 7.5 out of 10. It was a good episode, not that great, but it's pretty fun. It's pretty okay at best. Though, if you want to see for yourself, go ahead. Next week, like I said, Zoom returns, and Barry, along with his crew, are going to recreate the accident that gave him his powers. It's going to be an intense one, I tell you. I look forward to the episode when Kevin Smith's going to be writing it. When that happens, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's it for my episode review of this week's Flash. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to hit the like button. It really does mean a lot to me. And remember, everyone, all my reviews, they fall under fair use because, one of my episodes got claimed, and I'm now disputing it to get it released. Hopefully it will be settled because I really love doing this. I really love to support the show, but I dislike it when stuff like this had to happen. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next week for another Flash episode review. Peace out.